kahit anong mangyari, tuloy natin to.
Oo. Take 4. Guys, kung alam nyo lang. Sana naman. I am pumped. I'm excited. It's January and my lineup for season 6 is so sickening. And one proof of that is my guest today. He is a personal coach, an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, and known for his podcast show, Small Talk with Alec Cuenca. Ladies and gentlemen, Alec Cuenca!
Yes! Okay, hey. So, backstory, we've been doing this introduction for 2 times now. So, hey guys, hi. Thank you, Roma, for having me. And I'm really excited. Kailangan talaga matuloy to kasi I think a lot of people will learn from the things that we are going to talk about. So, if you are listening right now, enjoy.
Welcome to the Roma Miclat Podcast, Alec. And yes, actually guys, ang sabi ko nga kay Alec, para siyang Pokemon, ang hirap niyang hulihin. We've been trying so hard to make this happen. I know you're a busy person, Alec, and you have a lot of things, guestings, invitations here and there. Pero I want to know, kamusta ka? What's up? What's going on with you?
Well, if you've asked me that question a few weeks ago, or I think last week, siguro I would have gave you a different answer. But right now, I'm really fine. I'm doing better. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Last week, I felt like I was, feeling burnt out with all the projects. And because I'm still new to this thing, no, yung itong podcasting and tuloy-tuloy talaga yung pag-produce ng content and yung mga sideline ko pa. So I'm still adjusting to the environment and to the pace of it. So, na-burnout ako, but fortunately, I was able to take a break. Mga 2 days, 3 days lang akong nagpahinga talaga. Like, cleared my mind. And it is really helpful. So, if you are listening to this, please, if you feel like you need to take a break, go take it because your mind needs it, your body needs it, and your spirit definitely needs it.
Yes, I totally agree. And sobrang medyo, underrated yung pagpapahinga.
Yes.
I think because everyone, being busy is something that we all want to be kasi ayaw nating matag tayo as medyo tambay, ganyan, or unproductive. And we sort of glorify being busy. But what's important is, we rest kasi when you rest you recharge and you become more productive actually, diba? And that's good. I'm happy that you took a break. You need that. I've been seeing you a lot sa mga talks lately and I'm really happy to see you. But before we continue, be sure to watch out for our other episodes still with Alec Cuenca, and that's gonna be on Empowered Talks. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and of course subscribe on the podcast, which is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, at kung saan ka man nakikinig ng iyong podcast. So let's talk a little bit about TikTok and fame because you are paving your way on social media, Alec. How did that change your life?
It changed my life massively. Even though before, when I was a kid, I always liked being in the center of attention. I like going up on stage and presenting to people. Social media, it's just a different breed. Ewan ko, siguro nag-a-adulting na rin ako, so medyo nahihiya na ako. But when I grew on TikTok and the podcast as well, there were so many people that have been messaging me. Recently lang, there are, while I was having coffee dito sa local coffee shop dito sa Olongapo, may lumapit sa akin, sabi niya, Kuya, ikaw po ba yung nagbibigay ng advice sa TikTok? Sabi niya ganun. So I was like, yeah, that's me. So I'm not really sure how to respond to that. But, I'm just happy, not because I want to be famous, but I'm essentially happy because the message that I'm putting out here on social media is getting across many people, not just here in the Philippines, but around the world. And I'm really grateful for the people who have been connecting with me and just, sharing the message that I wanted to share.
Sabi niya, Kuya, ikaw ba yung sa TikTok? But what was your initial reaction when that happened? Parang nagulat ka ba? Parang,
nagulat ako, syempre, nagkakape, normal na kape, conversations with my friend. Then dumating yun. Syempre ako, nahiya din ako sa friend ko kasi parang when something happens like that, you feel like you're a big time, right? Pero the truth is kasi, I'm not a big time, I'm just a regular person that tries my best every single
No,
day.
you're getting
But
there.
but pero syempre nagulat talaga ako, but I was really happy. I think that was like the glimpses
Mm-hmm.
that you are on the right path, that the dream of,
Yes.
my dream is eventually, speaking sa
Mm-mm.
isang malaking stage and just
Mm.
inspiring a lot of people. And that gave me a glimpse that my goal or my dream is
Mm.
actually, pwede talagang makuha yun, pwedeng maabot yun.
It's gonna happen. It's
It
gonna
is.
happen. Yeah. At kung, ayan, very approachable si Alec in person, guys.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you, and you really deserve all these wonderful blessings and
Thank
continue
you.
inspiring people. And I'm one of them. And I am grateful that I have this chance to have you on the show, to have this conversation with you. But as you know, here on the Roma Miclat Podcast, I do things differently. We're here because I want to know more about Alec. Not, again, I told him about this, not as a resource speaker, but as a person. Like, sino ba tong si Alec Cuenca? Who is that Alec person behind the Small Talk podcast? You're doing all this motivational, inspirational talk, Alec, but what makes it different, I think, is the emotions that goes with it. Especially, you're a guy. Syempre, alam mo, I mean, it's not common for us, lalo na pag Pinoy, to see men doing the thing that you do. But why is that? I mean, san galing, san ka humuhugot ng mga ganyan? How did everything started?
Well, I grew up in a very emotional household, to say the least. My life is very, very dramatic. And but I'm not saying that I'm special. It's just that as I was growing up, um, I tried, how the society pushes us to just itago and isarili. Since lalaki ka,
Yes.
panganay ka, kailangan kayanin mo, di ba? So laban. But there was a point in my life where I just couldn't handle it. Like, hindi ko talaga kinaya na laban lang, hindi ko kinaya na sarilihin mo lang. So I broke down. And that was my rock bottom. That was I'm sorry if I'm gonna start off this
It's
conversation,
okay.
but
It's okay because we want this is the base of everything that they're hearing
yeah.
right now.
Okay, so that time I experienced my first ever heartbreak, and I'm not very used to heartbreak. So nung nangyari sa akin yun, I didn't take it very lightly. I didn't take it maturely. I did what every naive, stupid, reckless young man would do. I wrecked my life even more. So I experienced a heartbreak and I wrecked my life even more. And there was a point na hindi ko na talaga kinaya. So I planned on taking my own life. I planned on killing myself. And so, nung nangyari yun, there's a long story behind that. But essentially, when I was planning it on that day, I just said to myself, now I'll give life one more chance. Let's see what happens. So I opened my phone. My mother was calling. Sabi niya lang, uwi ka na. And when she said that, I snapped out of it. I told myself, what am I doing? Anong ginagawa ko? Mali to. Sabi ko ganyan. So I went back home and I hit the reset button, clean slate. I yung mga pinaniniwalaan ko, yung mga values ko noon, tinry kong i-adapt, i-change. And binitaw ko talaga yung mga dating habits ko. So, at that moment, I learned that there were so many people, especially men, that are trying to hide it, trying to fight it, the emotions. But it's a part of being a regular human being, diba? So, essentially, that's the reason why I created the podcast and why I'm preaching motivational and inspirational stuff on TikTok, to remind people, especially men, young men, that whatever they are feeling, it's okay. Whatever, if they are feeling sad, if they are not feeling strong, they are not feeling very brave at the moment, it's okay. It's a part of the balance of living a life. So that's basically my story and the story of the podcast. Yeah.
And it's okay to actually say it
Yeah.
because it's valid. I mean, whatever you're feeling is valid.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow, thank you, Alec, for for sharing that. Medyo, yeah, nagulat din ako because again, I told you this during the our meeting that you were giving this impression. Of course, I mean impressions are on us.
Mhm.
Kami yun eh. Yun yung ano namin eh. Tingin namin sa'yo eh. But the impression that you gave us, or at least for me, is that you're this ano eh, um, ulirang anak. Hindi sakit ng ulo. Ano ba, ikaw yung tipong sinasabi ng nanay namin na, hindi ka gumaya kay Alec, mabait na bata, hindi sumasagot, ganyan-ganyan. Oo,
Oo,
napagano,
pero
di ba?
parang for the longest time I was like that, and essentially that's basically my thesis na if you are like that na sobrang sakit ka ng ulo sa mga magulang mo and talagang patapon ang buhay mo,
Mhm.
there can be a possibility of a life that is way, way better than that. Nakikita ng mga tao sa podcast PH and meron ding nag-message sa akin, si Rajiv. Tinanong niya sa akin na parang, can I have a interview with you? Parang ikaw kasi ang parang Bruce Wayne, sobrang seryoso, sobrang ganyan. And I was really flattered, but at the same time, natawa din ako kasi in person, I'm not that serious. I'm not that not to say emotional. I'm pretty open with my emotions, but I'm just a regular human being, and I think I'm trying to break that mold na kapag seryoso ka lang. Kapag
Mm-mm.
emotional ka lang. And pag lalaki ka, hindi dapat ganon, di ba? Dapat seryoso
Yes.
ka, hindi ka emotional. And I'm
At
trying
pag
to break that.
panganay, hindi
At
dapat
pag
ganon.
panganay,
Oo. Ang laki
di ba?
kasi ang laki ng burden, I think, especially for the eldest child, 'di ba? That they always have to be responsible, and those are the things that you don't enjoy
Mhm.
as the eldest child, 'di ba? Yung maging irresponsible at sakit ng ulo ng magulang,
Kasi
'di ba?
doble yung sakit ng ulo kapag panganay mo pa yung nagaganon. Dapat nga ikaw yung tumutulong. Pero
True.
um ano mo, i-share ko na lang din,
Mm.
when during my darkest time, uh, I carried that burden na ako yung panganay, hindi dapat ganito. But what I learned is that yung ganong klaseng thinking,
Mhm.
it's it's an additional stress and actually unnecessary that we add sa sarili natin. It goes for all the panganays out there. Of
Mhm.
course, we should help our parents kung kaya, pero we should not carry that burden. Hindi dapat siya something na hindi mo siya obligasyon, but it is
Mhm.
your if you have that capacity, you should be dapat bukal sa loob mo and sa puso mo na tumulong. Walang obligasyon, pero meron tayong responsibilidad na tumulong, pero it's not supposed to be forced. Of course,
Yes.
you need to take care of yourself as well.
One thing I noticed pala, before I go on to my next question, Alec, one thing I noticed is the way you speak to the camera. Is it something that you've been parang nakagawian mo ng gawin yan? Like when you talk to people, like really eye to eye? Because ako for one is I cannot really like I can do like the eye contact, but I can't do it like ikaw talaga tutok eh. Like hanggang sa mag-umpisa ka hanggang sa huli. Like wow, how do you do ganyan ba kayo mag-usap sa pamilya niyo?
No. But, a little bit of background. The
Mm.
reason why I created TikTok is because I wanted, the podcast was really doing great. I'm
Mhm.
getting an increase of listeners and supporters, but I wanted to create the TikTok because
Mhm.
I wanted to create bit-sized videos that could help people. And another reason is that I was looking for a way to practice my speaking skills,
Mhm.
my presentation skills. And sabi ko lang sa sarili ko, kailangan 1 minuto magsalita kang ganyan. And so, I practice. And I've noticed na, ngayon nga recently, when people are saying na, grabe, pag ikaw yung nagsasalita, feeling ko ako talaga yung kausap mo.
Yes, oo, ganun
Talagang
eh, na parang
tagos sa
mapapatigil ka
kaluluwa.
talaga eh. Oo, may
Sabi.
ganung effect.
So
The
sabi
Alec
ko,
Cuenca effect.
pero, kasi when I'm trying to record,
Mhm.
I don't imagine that I'm posting it online. I'm always imagining that there is a friend, that I'm FaceTiming a friend, and what would I say to him or her directly?
Mhm.
and it's like I'm talking to him or her at that moment. So there is always this persona behind the camera that I'm visualizing para mas sincere and mas genuine yung mga sinasabi ko dun sa video.
And that's what makes it stand out. You know why? Because now, ang dami nang nangyayari sa paligid mo that even your closest friend
Mhm.
or even your family, like when they talk to you, they won't even look you in the eye. It's either
Yeah.
they're on their phones or I
Yeah.
don't know, doing something with their hands. And that's one thing that I miss.
Mm-mm.
Ako personally. Is that when you talk to people and they are really listening to you and, looking at you.
Yeah,
At
and
least while
that's
you're talking, diba?
yeah, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't know about me
Mm.
as well, because they can see me speaking and talking, but in the real life, I
Mhm.
am an avid listener
Mhm.
of other people. Kung
Mhm.
ano yung kwento nila, talagang gustong-gusto ko marinig yun, kasi I always approach every single person that I meet na meron ako matututunan dito. So kung madalas nakikita nyo akong nagsasalita,
Mhm.
in my real life, I like to do meditation. I'd like to sit
Mhm.
down and just listen
Mhm.
to my thoughts or kung sino man kausap ko. That's why I really miss, going outside and just having coffee with people.
Yes.
I miss that stuff. Yeah.
But are you an extrovert or ano ba? Introvert, ambivert?
I am
Mukha ka kasing tahimik.
mukhang tahimik, di ba? Pero yeah, pero I am an extrovert. I can't sit alone with my thoughts for a day. Siguro for
Mhm.
a few hours kaya. Pero pag talagang na-reach ko na yung limit ko, talagang gusto ko meron akong kausap. Kasi it's like therapy for me
Mhm.
na when I think about these thoughts, I'm trying to, straighten them out. And the only
Mhm.
way I could do that is when I talk to someone about the things that I'm thinking about.
True.
So I always try to go out there and talk to people, and I think the extroverts are the people who are having a hard time during this quarantine season. But
Yes.
thankfully,
Yes, I'm an
ang gan
extrovert.
buti na lang merong Zoom at merong Skype
Yes.
at merong
Oo, that's so
FaceTime.
that is so true. Let me just share kasi this is not the first time that we actually talk to each other. Before when he launched his shirt, it was just like I called, I think, no,
Yes, you did.
tumawag ako,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, okay pala si Alex, he is so, kasi feeling ko talaga you are so serious, man, like, oh yes, Roma, ganun yung expectation ko. Oh, hi Roma, so ano, what's up? Ganun talaga. So, di ba? I mean, at least now we know that there's this fun
Yeah.
side of Alec Cuenca.
And kasi I've been to different guestings na rin. For example, yung Brain Cells, yung kay
Mm.
Rajiv, and kay Richard, and all the interviews that I went to, they were focused on the topic of motivation
Mm.
and self-love and all that. And when it comes to those stuff, I am really serious. Like,
Yes.
yes,
It's
I'm
your
really
craft. I
serious
mean,
about
it's
that.
it's your work.
Yes.
It's your, like, ano personal coaching. Hindi ka naman pwedeng maging kengkoy, eh.
Yes.
Diba?
Pero that's why I was really happy with your approach na we want to see the real Alec personally, kung paano talaga sila.
Mhm.
And I'm really grateful that I'm given this opportunity to show this other side of me, kasi I feel
Mhm.
like not just na I'm trying to put an image on social media, but essentially I wear multiple hats. So I want to show this side of me na rin, and I'm really grateful for you inviting me to the show.
Yay. Thank you. Okay, ngayon. Kanina I asked you, kamusta ka? Now I wanna ask, kamusta ang puso mo? Single ba
Mm.
si Alec? At malamang gusto rin niyang malaman ng mga taong nakikinig or nanonood
Okay.
nito.
Hindi mo sinabi sa akin to sa prep na interview.
No.
Okay. Well, I think you get the answer by my silence. But
Gusto ko yung
my
silence.
my heart is very reserved. Yes,
Mhm.
that's the least that I could say. My heart is very reserved, and we all know that life goes through a lot of changes, and I'm going through a very, very not difficult as well, but I could say challenging change in my life.
Mhm.
But when it comes to love life, I'm still adjusting to it. Pero for the people out there who are wondering, my heart is very reserved. I think I'll just leave it at that.
So it's a yes and a no. Yes, technically single siya, but no. Not so much. So ikaw yung parang ano, how would we coin the term? You're technically single but nagmamahal from afar? Yun ba yung
I
term
think
natin?
I think I'm just focused more on my growth. Pero
Ah.
ay nako, Roma.
Gusto ko yung hesitation ni Ale. Ano mga ba? Ipupush ko pa ba to? Konti pa, awin na eh.
No, kasi I'm actually from a very long-term relationship. And to be honest, at this point, we are trying to look at the world in a new perspective. And maybe this is going to be like, ano ba bang pwede nating matutunan from our relationship? And we're not technically like break, pero we're on the phase of, let's try to figure things out more. Saan ba natin gusto papunta yung relationship na? So it's kind of like we are open to whatever's gonna happen. But if you're going to ask me if I am single, if I'm open to mingle, then I'm definitely not. I'm just I'm just enjoying this work and the projects that is coming into my life right now.
It's like the relationship is on pause.
Yes.
For at this moment.
Yes.
If you don't mind me asking, how long is this relationship pala?
Yeah, this relationship is now currently on a 10-year relationship.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I met my love. I could say my love, right? Pwede naman yun, no?
Yes.
But I could say my love, I met her during my first year in high school, which is really stupid. You know, if you guys are listening right now, don't be like me. We were naive. We were all that those things. But we definitely had the best years of my life, and I think as we are maturing, I think that's one of the downsides of having to be in a relationship at a very young age. It's that we didn't get to figure out ourselves more. We didn't get to really
Kasi
ask
together
ourselves.
na kayo agad eh. Like
Yes.
you've been together. Ano ba kayo? High school
Yes.
sweethearts?
Yeah, high
Pag
school
ganun, lagi na
sweethearts.
kayong magkasama sa
Lahat,
schools,
lahat.
even Sundays, you know?
A lot of people won't believe because when they see me right now, I'm really independent. But even just last year, I was really emotionally dependent on my love, and that really took a toll on my growth na rin as an individual. And so that's why I think this may be a challenging situation for the both of us, but we are really both looking forward to what's going to happen, and we're open and excited about the future. Yeah.
Wow. All the best to you guys. And I hope that, you find whatever it is that you're looking for, like individually, so that when you get together, you're stronger.
Yeah.
And much, much better yung quality ng relationship nyo.
Yes.
And then you move forward together na mas masaya, mas fulfilled yung relationship nyo. Okay, I'm gonna skip because I'm gonna go to before I let go to this part, I wanna ask you if you're open to a new love. So guys, nasagot na yung tanong natin. Hindi. But thank you, Alec, for sharing that to us. Okay, ngayon, let me begin with my questions. Hindi pa talaga yun.
Hindi ba talaga yun? Okay.
Hindi,
Sige,
intro
warm up
lang
pa lang
yun.
yun.
Warm up pa lang yun. I want to know, what is something that people assume about you that is not correct? Like, di ba kanina earlier, I told you, my impression or assumption kasi is you're this perfect son, na napakabait, hindi magulo, introvert, walang kalokohan sa katawan. What is something that most common thing na when people approach you, parang sasabihin nila, oh, akala ko Alec, ganito ka.
So, there are a lot of things. First, when sa TikTok, when they see me, they always comment na ang swerte siguro na maging ang perfect siguro ng relationship nito kasi alam niya na lahat diba? And so that's one thing that people don't see on social media. That's why
Mm.
I'm always pushing for people to not spend too much time on social media, not believe everything that you see on social media, because essentially most of the time people are posting their highlights.
Yes.
They don't know what happened behind the curtains. So there are a lot of struggles and challenges that I am still facing right now that a lot of the people on TikTok don't see. And one thing also, I think Rajiv gave me the first idea that people are assuming, or this is the first impression that people have on me, is that I am a really serious guy. And so
Mm.
I'm like that person who is very calm and
Mm.
collected. But to to be frank with you guys, medyo walwal akong tao. And
O, 'di ba? O, 'di ba guys, dito
uh,
niya narinig yan, walwal,
okay.
walwal si Alec Cuenca.
Mamaya siguro pag-iisipan ko kung ipapakat ko tong part na to. Pero ako guys, mahilig akong uminom. I
Mhm.
love drinking wine, beer, alcohol. I love to
Mhm.
party.
Mhm.
Essentially, I just love the sound of hip hop, pop, and rap, especially. And that's one thing that was
Pareho
really,
tayo.
yeah, natanggal. Actually, kanina nga narinig yung background mo. Sabi ko, okay, magkakasundo kami nito. Hindi, kasi talaga,
Yes.
those are my stuff. And
Mhm.
I don't post them. Ngayon, although ngayon, medyo pinapahapyawan ko ni mga tao. Kasi, I gained also followers
Mhm.
from TikTok. Punta sa IG ko, and my IG is very personal. Like, kung
Mhm.
anong kinakain ko, pinopost ko, kung sumasayaw, kung maganda yung music, pinopost ko ganyan.
Mhm.
And ngayon, medyo napapaisip na ako eh, na itong kantang to, ang daming
Yeah.
mura, kailangan ba, ay, dapat ko ba itong
Ay, si
i-post?
Alec ba 'to? Eh, di ba
Tama,
ito yung
ay, ito ba yun?
inspirational
Ito
speaker?
ba
Bakit
yun?
puro
Ganyan.
mura yung gusto?
Pero ang lagi ko lang sinasabi sa kanila na it's not really one-dimensional kasi eh.
Mhm.
People can be not people cannot be everything, but they can be two things.
Mhm.
It's really, it sucks when you think that a person is one dimensional, na yung taong yan puro motivational lang alam yan,
Mhm.
yung taong yan puro love life lang alam yan, yung
Mhm.
taong yan hindi walang alam yan sa music, ganon. And
Mm.
it's hard to label people, right? Like for example, different successful people have different leisures.
Mhm.
you know
Yes.
See Chris Bosh, NBA player, he loved to code, right? Einstein loved to play the violin, he was a
Mhm.
musician. And so
Mhm.
when we label people like sila, scientist ka lang, NBA player ka lang, NBA player ka lang, I think that's where our expectations does not meet the reality. But my reality is, I am a very fun person to hang out with. Whether
Mhm.
you want to have serious talks, okay, but if you want to just party and have fun with me, I'm down to do that as well.
Yan. I hope this episode clears out that impression on Alec on Alec, and yeah. O, 'di ba? Kasi I think yeah, yun nga, people sometimes forget that this is this is work. And the party person does not come to work, 'di ba? When it's work, it's
Yeah.
work. But
It's
there's
work,
a
it's
fun
work.
side of this person. Eh, ito naman. Can you admit to us, ano ang isa sa mga, or pwede rin dalawa, ganyan, ano ang worst habit ni Alec?
Ooh, spicy.
Yes,
Okay.
of course. Ayoko nung ayoko nung ako po talaga ay napaka I always work kahit weekends, ganyan. Ayoko mga ganun Don't give me that.
Nagpapabango ng pangalan eh, no? Ay,
Oo,
ako
wag
po,
ganun.
masyado akong focus sa trabaho ko. Hindi, joke lang. No,
Wag
ito,
ganun, ayoko nun.
one of my worst habits,
Mhm.
and I'm kind of proud to say it because I've stopped doing it,
Mhm.
but before the quarantine happened, I was smoking. I was
Oh.
smoking. And essentially, even though last year I was already doing motivational stuff, I was
Mhm.
still smoking. And not just
Mhm.
partying smoking, but like pag nasa stress talaga ako, nag-iossi ako. And
Mhm.
that was something that I told myself na when I read The Power of Habit and the Atomic Habits, na just changing that one small thing about your life, one
Yeah.
small habit that you have, can essentially change your life for the better. Like it will go very, very far. And so I
Mhm.
started with that. Kasi wala naman din ako nakukuha doon. Naisip ko lang ako nakukuha. And although na-miss ko yung nicotine rush, kaya minsan talagang sumusobra ako sa kape.
Mm.
'di ba? Pero that's one thing that I was really proud, but and I was, at the same time I was really ashamed to do
Mhm.
because um I know naman none of my friends are listening. I'm not bad mouthing them, but I
Mhm.
grew up in a very vices focused life na
Kasi tsaka ano
talagang
eh, nakakadagdag yan like with men should, men and
oo.
smoking and,
Yes.
beer.
I started smoking 2017.
Mm.
2017 when I had my first heartbreak. O sige, sabi nila, stress lang yan. Ito, yosin mo
Mm.
yan. Ganyan. So, tinry ko and I was addicted for almost 2-3 years.
Mm.
But, sinabi ko nga itong parating ng pandemic, sakto, hindi ka na rin lalabas. Wala nang party-party. Hindi mo na
Oo.
makikita yung mga kaibigan mong yun. E di, tinigil ko na din. So, that's one habit that, that's my worst habit. And but ang it's something that I dropped off. So
Mhm.
does that count? Pasok ba
Y-
yung sagot ko na yan?
Pwede naman, pwede naman. Gusto mo bang dagdagan? Baka may something that's
Ha.
ongoing
Okay, ongoing.
na minsan talaga hindi mo mapigil. Na parang, shit, Alex, ito na naman
Oh,
tayo. May
sige,
ganun ka ba?
eto. Sige, meron din ako. Medyo mababaw lang,
Oo.
pero chips. Ang hilig ko kumain ng chips.
Yeah, because guys, just in case you don't know, Alec is very very fit. Maano ka may exercise ka eh, no?
Ah,
And you're very health conscious, I think.
yeah. Yeah.
Oo.
I am ngayon I'm very health conscious na pero di ko talaga matanggal na. Pero pag meron nasa harapan kong chips, talagang magugulat na lang ako, ubus ko na. Ganon. And so that's why I don't, alam ko naman malito, pero I don't get trainers kasi pag nakita nila na, bakit hindi nawawala yung mga taba-taba mo dito? Kasi chichichirya ako eh. Kain ako ng kain ng chips.
Hindi ka nagmamakros.
Hindi ko inaayos yung mga diet na yan eh.
Oo, pag hindi mo mapigil talaga yung sarili mo with chips. Junk food.
Junk food talaga, hindi.
Oh.
I can't.
Ayan.
Stop
So, if gusto ka nilang parang
I-expose na nila ako ngayon. Ka-cancel na nila ako. Hindi na tayo makikinig dyan. Hindi nyo makontrol yung chip.
Grabe naman sila, guys. Perfect kayo. Perfect kayo.
Pero, that's the thing. That's why I was really excited with this interview because not only will this show the different side of me, it shows that you don't need to be perfect to
Yes.
share and send the message across the world. If it's something positive, if you know that it can help or change someone's life, regardless kung nasa preso ka, puro ka tato, puro ka may kulay ang buhok mo, kung ano mang history mo, regardless, if you feel like you have a truth that can save or help another person, say it. Put it out there. Let them decide. Kung ayaw ka nila, ayaw ka nila. Kung gusto ka nila, kung nakatulong ka, then good. That's
Gusto ko yun. Kung ayaw nila, edi wag.
Yeah. Hindi para sa kanila yung message mo kung ayaw nila. That's it.
True. Find your audience. 'Di ba? Okay, my next question is, if you will pick an object to represent you, what will it be?
Easy. It's a mic. It's a microphone.
Really?
It's a
really,
microphone.
It's always been microphone.
It's always I've actually never thought that I was that was my emblem. Pero it makes perfect sense na I really love to talk. And I'm essentially the vessel that carries the message and the voice, kasi feeling ko hindi naman sa akin nanggagaling to eh. The lessons, the things that I teach are things and theories and laws that I read from books. Pinaghahalo ko experience ko, but at the same time, the theories and the concepts and the principles, it came from people who have been here before. The books that they have written, the experiences, the videos, and everything, and all that stuff. And even so, ako, hindi ko naman sinasabi na ako to ang galing ko eh. Pero I always feel like God is always wanting me to say these things, and I'm just here to say it. I'm just that microphone. I'm just that vessel, that machine that speaks, that sends out the message. Yeah.
Yeah. True. Pero tanong ko pala, Alec, were you really planning to put up or come up with a podcast show, or was there other things that you were doing before, or hindi parang iba yung na-envision mo for Alec?
Yeah. I wanted to speak publicly. I wanted to do public speaking. And so I started off with my content creation in creating vlogs.
So
You know,
vlog, you started as a vlogger.
my mother gave me an iPhone 8. So I said, na ayos yung camera nito ah. Why not, video, document all my life and
Mhm.
post it online, post it on YouTube. And so I started YouTube editing all that stuff. I put it online, and it was growing. Although I didn't have like very viral videos, but it was growing. And there was a point that while I was editing, I just felt like this isn't all, hindi lang ito siguro yung meron sa mundo, sa social media. Hindi lang ito yung para sa akin. Although it was fun, it was not as fulfilling as I expected it to be. So there was a time where I was reading a book by Gary Vaynerchuk. It's called Crushing It.
Mhm.
And sabi niya doon na audio is the future. And I was like, what? Audio is the future? What do you mean? Radio has been here since forever. What does that mean?
Mhm.
Sabi ko, sige, research pa ako. Tapos nabanggit niya nga yung podcast. So I researched what a podcast is. Before, I thought podcasts were just radio DJs and people giving shout outs and playing music, but it's not
Mhm.
that. There are a lot of educational podcasts, interview podcasts out there. And so, the research ko, the next thing that I researched was, well, how do I create one? And sumakto at that time, my cousins from the States gifted me this mic, the Blue Yeti mic. And sabi nila, ang pangit ng audio mo sa mga vlogs mo, gamitin mo to. Sabi nila ganyan sa akin. Tapos parang ako, whoa, this mic is not just for vlogging.
Mhm.
This is a really good mic. Like
Yes,
it
yes.
gets, everything is perfect. And so I said, okay, may mic na rin ako eh. Why not do vlogs and podcast at the same time? And actually, the small talk segment started, and it was really cringy. It's really cringy if you just search for it on YouTube. I swear, I'm warning you right now. It's
We
very
will search
cringy.
for it. Don't
Do
worry.
not, do not search for it. Okay, Roma, remove that part. Do not search for it. Okay, I'm gonna put it into private later. Pero yun nga, it was really
No.
joke lang. Pero it was really cringy. I tried, small talk on YouTube, and I was sharing 7 tips on how to make your relationship stronger, better, ganyan,
Mhm.
ganyan. Ganyan, ganyan, giving all that advice. And so, nung na-research ko nga itong podcast, sabi ko, well, this is much easier. Yung
Mhm.
edit, imbes na 3 hours, 1 hour lang.
Yeah, because it's just
Diba?
audio, no?
It's
Madali buhay
audio.
sa pod. Hindi naman, I mean,
Yes.
like, it's, of course, it's still a process, but it's easier to edit audio lang talaga rather than
Oo.
with,
Saka,
video talaga.
doon, yung kahit yung ums mo, yung kailangan tanggalin mo kasi kailangan malinis.
Yes, you
Dito sa
can change
podcast,
that.
it's okay. You're not trying to win the Grammys or anything. You just want
Mhm.
people to feel like they're part of the conversation and they can learn from you. That's important. And so when I tried podcasting, um, I had 5 listeners.
Mhm.
Probably yung tatlo doon, pamilya ko pa. Yung dalawa lang, hindi ko alam. Nag-post na ako sa podcast PH, pinakinggan nila. Siguro natuwa sila. And there was this moment na talagang 5, 10 lang ako every episode. May nag-message sa akin na nakatulong ako sa buhay niya. And
I
that
noticed
was,
that in your first few episodes, it's less than 20 minutes. Yun
it
yung
is.
Na parang sabi ko, wow. Ang ano naman ito, napaka-efficient naman yung magsalita. Kasi, well, in less than 20 minutes, you can put out everything that you want to say.
Oo, di ba? So nag-transition nga yung podcast papunta doon. And nung naka-receive ako ng message, ang sabi niya lang na, Kuya, keep doing more podcasts. You helped me in my life. You saved me tonight, sabi niya lang ganun. So I was like,
Wow.
wow. Like, before, nakakuha ako ng mga, ang ganda ng comment, ang ganda ng video mo sa vlogs, pero it wasn't that fulfilling. Pero nung naka-receive ko yung comment na yun, I said na podcast really connects to a deeper level.
Mhm.
And so I transitioned more, even though naalala ko at that time, my girlfriend was telling me na, why are you switching? Like, you're already growing in YouTube. Why are you going to switch? Uulit ka na naman ng panibagong brand. Bakit hindi mo gawin lahat na lang ng video mo, ilagay mo audio, ganyan. And I was thinking na, I could do that, but I feel like mas candid and mas personal kasi ang experience sa podcast. So sabi ko, mag-full-time muna ako dito. Bigyan mo akong 3 buwan. Let's see how it pans out. And nagulat na ako na sobrang daming tao pala na talagang matututo and matutuwa dun sa podcast ko.
Yeah.
And yeah, it started there, and it just kept on getting bigger and bigger.
And I agree with you because podcasting for me then is really, it's somewhat intimate din talaga to your
Mhm.
listener, especially for example your topic, like very emotional, and then you're speaking to other guys out there, and of course hindi naman aamin yung mga yan kung nakikinig sila sa ganon. And so it's just between you and the listener. So
Yeah.
isasalpak niya lang yung headset niya, malay niya ba kung anong pinakikinggan mo, kung hip hop ba yan o si Alec Cuenca, diba? So it doesn't
Diba?
matter. Pero it's a very intimate experience with our listeners. And I think you captured the right moment, the right audience, and the right topic. That's why they were drawn into your to
Yeah.
your podcast. Something that, well, I think most of creators are going through, or siguro na experience din ng mga tao. I want to know, have you experienced the imposter syndrome?
Mm.
But before you answer that, to all our listeners who don't know what imposter syndrome is also known as imposter phenomenon. It is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. It's like, the idea that you've only succeeded because you're lucky and not because of your talent or qualification. So ikaw, now that you are moving towards that ladder of success, have you ever experienced this syndrome, imposter syndrome?
To be frank with you, to be upfront with you guys, during the creation of the podcast and the growth of the podcast, I've never experienced that because I do not speak a topic that I am not connected with. I'm not currently experienced or have experienced. And during that time, wala. Hindi ko naramdaman yun. But there was this moment because shameless plug na din. I'm actually finishing a podcast masterclass where I teach how to start their own podcast, how to grow their podcast, and hopefully monetize their podcast. And I'm sharing that.
Give
And
me the details.
and the best thing about that, I'm gonna work with you hand in hand. So there's a lot of collaboration and a really deep dive into the quality of the content. But that was the moment because I saw my numbers, right? When they were asking me, parang pina-fill upan sa akin yung sales page, yung ano ba, kung ano ipepresenta natin sa mga tao. And I was, talagang dun ako ng hina, ng lumo, na sinabi ko na, sino ba ako? Kasi nung nakita ko na, okay, masterclass yan. It's not just, a 5-minute video. It's a masterclass. And who are you to say that this works? Okay? And the reason why I was feeling that is because I'm looking at the top podcasters. Those were my idols. Inka Magnaye, Joy Spring, Waking Up with Jim and Sab, and the global podcast. And I tried to research on their numbers and I was very far away. Ang layo pa. Talagang wala akong ano. So sabi ko, bakit hindi sila gumagawa ng masterclass? Ako, nagsisimula pa lang. Magdadalawang taon pa lang nagpa-podcast, gagawa ng masterclass. And so that was the moment that I felt like I'm an imposter. Parang hindi ko ata kaya to. But, I reflected, I slowed down and thought about it. Naisip ko na instead of looking how far you need to go, you need to look how far you've come. So, looking back, nakita ko na I started my brand with scratch. Yung mga tinitignan ko talaga, mga talentado talaga yun sa mga sikat talaga na artista yun eh. So it was relatively easy for them. But for me, who didn't have a background on social media, who didn't have any connections or anything, I started and created a podcast. I marketed it. I found out different ways to market the podcast, and it put me like on the top 50 of the podcast here in the Philippines. And that itself is something that I know can benefit a lot of people. I may not know everything about podcasting, but essentially I did it from nothing to something. Not the best yet, but from nothing to something. And I feel like a lot of people forget that there are different stages in life. So for example, level 25 ka na. Okay? Hindi mo naman ita-target tuturuan yung mga level 35. Hindi sila yung you're doing this not for them. You're doing this for the people who are reaching level 25. So mga level 20, level 15, level 7, yun yung mga tinuturuan mo. Okay? So when regardless of where you are in life, you have a specific experience that you can share to the other people. And that's how I removed or dealt with the imposter syndrome. It's not them. Hindi yung mga magagaling na tao ang inaabot ko dito. Kung magaling ka na, congrats. You don't need to enroll or you don't need to study the things that I'm saying right now. But if you are someone who is still trying to figure it out, who have no idea what a podcast is, then this is for you. So essentially, that's how I approach everything in life as well. And yeah, that's how I do with imposter syndrome.
Thank you for that advice. And that is a very, very good, wise advice, I'd say. Because sometimes, no, talagang, no, well, no matter what you do, you'll feel inferior. Kasi mga yun, tagal na nila eh. They have, and most of them, they have a team.
Yeah.
It's not like I think I can speak for both of us na when you were starting, parang ikaw lahat eh. Ikaw, you're doing everything from scratch, and you're even the ideas, and you're sorting it out yourself, and that's right. Check yung i-check mo kung gaano ka na naka move forward eh. Like when you were starting, and then now that you are doubting yourself.
Pero parang you don't need to know everything kasi, 'di ba? You don't need to know everything. Whatever you know, and if you really know it, then go teach it and go share it with other people. So that's like how I knew na even though maliit lang yung alam ko, marami pa rin hindi nakakaalam nito.
Yes,
so,
yes,
diba?
that is so true. Kasi I think malaking factor yung hiya eh. Like, di ba, hindi naman lahat, like, they can approach someone who is big enough or who is known enough na talagang famous na parang, oy, anong sikreto mo? Di ba? No. They just search. They will just search, but they won't ask you. Di ba? Kasi nahihiya sila. They feel small. That's the thing. That's very good na you're trying to reach out dun sa mga tao who are trying but hindi pa nakakarating dun. They are not yet there, but they are trying to improve themselves.
Yeah. Lastly na lang, no, I'm not parang in the masterclass, I'm not going to teach you how to get to 1 million streams because that's not something that I did. But what I did was I got to 100,000 streams. So if you want to learn how I did that, then go to my masterclass and I'll share you what I did. And that's essentially what you need to understand talaga na just focus on you. Kung ano alam mo, then share that. Yeah.
Kasi ngayon sa day and age natin, they want everything done quickly eh. 'Di ba? Yung mga yung mga famous ngayon na video sa even on YouTube, like how to get 1,000 followers in 5 days, how to blah 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 in ganito. Like guys, there is no instant thing for everything. If you want something instant, be ready to lose it instantly then. But if you are trying to work for something that's gonna be like medyo permanent at much fulfilling, you should be patient enough.
Yes.
And build it and build talaga the foundations of everything.
And alam mo kasi naisip ko, Roma, with the masterclass. Naisip ko, if somebody had told me the things that I am about to teach in that masterclass, probably I have, and if I was really invested into podcasting, if I did the things that I did, talagang grow mas malaki pa yung podcast ko ngayon eh. Pero naalala ko kasi talaga, Roman, nung talagang nagsisimula pa lang talaga tayo na, ano ba to? Paano ba to? Paano ba i-market to? Paano ba dumagdag kang isang listener? Paano ba? Wala eh. Wala.
Kasi di ba, Alec? I mean, the podcast community is relatively small and the podcast industry is still growing. So I don't think the very well developed na yung structure natin when it comes to podcasting. And it's very nice that you mentioned that. So will you give the details of your masterclass later on, or would you like to do it? Invite mo na sila.
So if you are listening to this, hopefully it's already available. Go just follow me on Small Talk Podcast on Instagram. DM me and I'll help you out with the process of joining the masterclass. So yun lang muna. But essentially everything about podcasting,
Mhm.
from the equipments, from your concept, to how I edit my workflow, how I publish the different hosting sites available, how you could grow using different platforms, and joining communities such as
Mhm.
Podcast PH, yung mga podcast directories, even joining a podcast network, everything about podcast network. Sana hindi magalit sa akin si Podcast Network Asia, pero shinare ko yung mga nakikita ko, napapansin ko, shinare ko
I-edit
dun
ba
sa...
natin 'to?
Okay lang yan. Pero yun, everything about it and the different ways to monetize your podcast, which is
Mhm.
good, but
Mhm.
I know a lot of people will enroll for
Mhm.
that. Pero please, if that's your main reason, you
Think again.
yeah, think again. Like, if you want to get rich or get famous using podcasts,
Yeah.
there are a lot of different mediums or platforms that can help you get to that goal faster. Essentially, if those are your reasons, then pag-isipan nyo muna kung ano talaga yung dahilan kung bakit nyo gusto mag-podcast. Pero it is possible to monetize based off your podcast. And yeah, I discussed it all in the masterclass. If you want to join me, if you want to learn more about that, just follow me on Instagram at Small Talk Podcast and send me a message.
Is this gonna be like a one-time thing or like seasonal siya, or is it
Um,
something that it's gonna be there all throughout the year?
Yeah, it's gonna be all through. It's available for you until you finish the master class. It's
Mhm.
basically 6 chapters,
Mhm.
and every chapter has 6 lessons or 6 video lessons. And ang maganda dun is that I think I'm not sure with it, but I think we will have a weekly meeting where
Mhm.
I assess you and help you with the process. Kung meron kayong mga tanong, we can work with that, and there's also a like collaboration board where ang tawag dun sa board na yun. Basta ganun, parang community board where
Mhm.
when we can ask questions, we can share the things that we're learning, some tips and advices as well na hindi masyadong nag-dive deep dun sa masterclass. We can talk all about that. And I'm gonna really be hands-on to the people who will be enrolling in the class to make sure kasi gusto ko na rin makatulong din kasi sa because we are growing, the podcast community in the podcast industry is growing, and the more creators essentially brings more listeners, so that's a
Mhm.
win-win for everybody, right?
Yes, yes. Wow, I'm very excited for this masterclass, and I will definitely check it out.
Yes, please,
I'm
please, please.
I'm very sure na. Sure na. Student here. For you, what is your definition of success? Like, when can you say that I've arrived? This is it. Kailan mo masasabi yon? Because people have different
Yeah.
different definition of success. Like, while you are thinking, I want to share my definition of success. For me, success is not really parang professional
Hmm.
lined. For
Yeah.
me, success is when I have enough time with my family. I can do the things that I want and that I am passionate about, and having a healthy mind, body, and soul. Like, you are happy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for me, that's very important when it comes, and I'm contented. That's very important
Yeah.
when I define my success.
Yeah.
Kahit hindi kami masyadong malaki bahay, okay yun. Win pa rin sa akin.
Alam mo siguro iniisip ng mga tao na success is when you're happy.
And when you have the dough.
Diba? They're thinking that that's a cliche. That's not really success. There's a lot of definition. Iba-iba yan. Pero I think like a lot of people try to overcomplicate things. Pero success is definitely when you're happy with life, when you're fulfilled, when you've lived a fulfilling and meaningful life. And that's something that can be achieved right now. A lot of people think having dreams or goals can make you not unsuccessful yet, or can make you unsuccessful right now. But truth is, it's not. If you are striving for progress and you see that you've already made progress, kahit 1% pa yan, then you are already successful. For me, that's it. Because when you have progress, you can ultimately be happy. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey, something like that. And so for me to give a more, to explain it a little bit deeper, I think I define my success when I can sleep at night knowing that I gave it all. That's my success. Every single night, I always, I subtly ask myself that question: Are you successful tonight? Did you
Mhm.
do the things that you need to do? Did you love? Full ng 100%?
Mhm.
Wala ka bang sinaktan na tao? Wala ka bang inapakang tao? Then good. You are successful. You can sleep tonight. Huwag mahimbing. That's for me is success. So you can say that my success is really on a daily basis.
Mhm.
I don't, although I want things,
Mhm.
pero it is not the metrics of my success.
Mhm.
My metrics, if I, at this particular day, did I live like I'm going to die tomorrow? Did I live the best way that I can? And if
Mhm.
I did that, then I'm successful
And you're fulfilled.
and I'm fulfilled.
It fulfills you. Oh, that's so good. Kasi ngayon, most of the people are, they tie up being successful with material things, and
Yeah.
it's a bit sad because yes, money is important, but hindi lang yun yung reason to live.
Yeah.
Alam mo yun? Kasi for other people, success is, not saying my name, but people know me. Parang they
Yeah,
know who I
yeah.
am. I don't have to introduce myself anymore. So those are
Yeah.
di ba?
And success does not promise you happiness.
Yeah.
Success does not guarantee you happiness. But if you are happy, then I guarantee you will be successful.
Yes. Tama naman yun. Tama naman talaga. Okay, I am down to my last question. When we were young, madalas kasi, di ba, we are asked, anong gusto mo paglaki mo?
Mhm.
Like, what is your dream when you grow up? But as we get older, less people would ask us about our dreams. And the truth is, the world makes it hard for us to pursue our dreams because of our responsibilities.
Yes, yes.
But it doesn't mean na it's impossible to achieve them. Mas challenging lang. Kasi, syempre, dami mo ng kailangan gawin. And now to my last question. Ano ang greatest dream mo, Alec? What is your greatest
Wow,
dream?
napangiti ako dun sa tanong mo. That's a really nice question.
Ah.
For me, my greatest dream is if I could inspire 100 million people. That's my greatest dream. Before, when I was a child, not child, but I was a teenager, that was the first time that I saw Mr. Francis Kong.
Mhm.
And I saw him speaking on stage, inspiring these students. And I
Mhm.
told myself, I want to be that person. I want to be like him. I want to be like him. And so I always dreamed of inspiring 1 million people. That was my dream. And then TikTok happened. I
Mhm.
got a few viral videos that had 4 million views, 5 million. So essentially, my dream was
Fulfilled.
finished.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it's
it's
already
fulfilled.
fulfilled. Yeah.
Naka-inspire na ako ng 1 million people. And that's why the thing that only change is the number, the quantity. Okay, if you ask me after siguro lumaki pa, hopefully lumaki pa yung brand ko, mas maka-inspire pa ako ng tao, umabot na 100 million, ask me again then, siguro sabihin ko 1 billion, 1 billion
Mhm.
people. 'Di ba? Pero my dream kasi is to have people understand that you only got one life and
Mhm.
you need to use it very, very well. Okay? And there will be times that it will get hard, it will be very challenging. But my dream is that every single one of us understand how I understand the world, that this is the best life that we could get. Kahit gaano kalala, kahit gaano mo pa ka-hate yung 2020, this is the best life that we could actually get. So that's essentially my dream.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your greatest dream to us, Alec. And hopefully, like in 5 or 10 years, we can have another conversation and sit down face to face, probably, kung pwede na.
Mm.
Hopefully, di ba? I hope
Last
to
10
meet you
years.
one day.
Yeah, after 10
Oo.
years, mabalikan natin to, no?
Oo, 'di ba? Balikan natin
Sana.
tong episode na to, and
Yeah.
let's see if it's still your greatest dream or maybe nagtumaas yung number.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for being so open and honest with me and being so game answering the questions. I'm so happy to have you on the show. Now, where to find you? Invite them. Where to
Okay.
follow you?
Well, you can listen to my podcast. It's Small Talk with Alec Cuenca. It's available on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And if you want to learn more about the things that I do, you can follow me on Instagram at Small Talk Podcast and on TikTok as well at Small Talk Podcast. I also do a weekly newsletter. So if you're interested in reading weekly motivational ideas, I send them out every single Monday. You can also subscribe to that. Just send me your email on my Instagram again at Small Talk Podcast. And yes, again, the masterclass. It's coming out soon. Hopefully, it's available when you listen to this episode.
Mhm.
Check it out. Podcasting can change your life. I'm sure of that. So, if you have a single idea or dream that you have inside of you, then hold on to that because it
Mhm.
can actually happen. And that's basically what I just want to and how I would end this podcast, this episode, Roma. So before anything else, gusto ko naman magpasalamat. Maraming salamat for having me on this podcast and this episode. If hindi masyadong hassle sa'yo, I would also like to re-upload siguro mga after 6 months
Yeah.
sa aking sa podcast ko kasi
Sure.
this has showed me or made me think about different questions that I don't usually get. So thank you so much for this conversation. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. I'm really happy that we had this conversation. We had this small talk with Alec Cuenca. Once again, Alec Cuenca, and this is the Roma Miclat Podcast. Until my next episode, bye.